Mouth. Ubara shericha. The problem with these last two bars, they're very long. Ubara shericha. Ma'achilna, so a woman who is pregnant, who smelled food on Yom Kippur, and she has a taiva now to eat it, we give her to eat achatoshim nafsha until her soul is restored. Chole, a person who's sick, ma'achilna, so we consult experts, and based on their say, so we can eat. Me'achar mekim, if there are no experts there, ma'achilna, so piatzmo, we feed him based on himself, achom diet till he says it suffices. It says more, bitchila teichva beroitev. First, we dip her finger in a little bit of sauce, of gravy. In other words, you shouldn't actually eat a shiur, right? She just takes a little bit. Im shava nafsha, when she tastes that sauce, she's restored. Ariyafa, that's good. Being lav, if not, nicely migufa shalisa, we give her the prohibited substance itself. Shtei baris bolif ne'er tarfon. This is a case that happened where two, very, very interesting case, two pregnant women came for a bitarfon. Sholach lanvon, he sent, I don't know what lanvon means, obviously a mistake of some sort. It means he sent to them. Trained talmidim, two students. Amr alone, he said to the students, Aslun go, Amr alone, and go say in the ears of the pregnant women, Tzoma Rabbahu, that today is Yom Kippur. So they said this to the first pregnant woman, the Sharach, and the fetus inside stopped making trouble. He was tranquil. The Kori Ilave, and Rabbi Tarfon said concerning this fetus, who when it was whispered in his mother's ear that it's Yom Kippur, that he stopped making trouble. Mibetin imi elai eliato. From the womb of my mother, you're already my God, meaning that this is a holy fetus to stop making problems when it was told it's Yom Kippur. Also, Armenian they came and told the second Muberes, the Lo Shadach, and he would not rest. And of course, they had to give the mother to eat. Because 11, they said about this Ubar, Zoru Rishoim Mirechem, the Rishoim were planted, or were scattered from the womb. Told and went astray, Mibeten, from the stomach, Divrei Chosam, they followed of falsehoods.
So it's like the story of Yaakov and Esau.
Like the story of Yaakov and Esau, right? Very similar. Although, it was two separate women, but it's very similar to Yaakov and Esau, right? Chol Omer Yaakov, the sick person says he can make it through the fast. The doctor says he can't make it through the fast. Show me the Rofi. We listen to the doctor. Rofi Omer Yachol, the doctor says he can make it through the fast. Yachol, the Chol Omer Ena Yachol, he can't make it through the fast. Show me the Chol, listen to the sick person. Says my that's partial. Lo Tzur Chayela, the Chol, it's like this. Chol Omer Yachol, the sick person says I can make it. Rofi Omer Ena, there the doctor says I don't know if he can make it. It says Nasa Kasaving Nefashos is a questionable case, and it's the Chol Saving Nefashos is Doicha is Shabbos, and it was Saving Nefashos pushing off Shabbos, and certainly Yom Kippur as well. Continuing along these lines, Vishachso Bumus, somebody who has Bumus, which is some faintness which comes because of hunger. Machinos of field vine train, we give him to eat even things which are not kosher, Achir Einav, until his eyes become re-illuminated. However, somebody who's bitten by a rabid dog, we don't give the sick person to eat not just on Yom Kippur, but the rest of the year, because it's treif from the diaphragm of the sick dog. That was a good question, even though that was considered by some to be a cure. But since it was not a surefire cure, so therefore they did not permit eating tarfas for that purpose. Because, I'm sure based on modern medicine, that it didn't work. So therefore, why take, something which just doesn't work and have them, especially if it's going to drop dead from this rabies and go to the Olam Emes, you want it to have another Avera on his shoulders, right? So don't give him to eat that, right? Because he said it could work. Said, somebody has a problem with his throat. To give him his medicine at Shabbos. Neishu Savi Nefashis, because it's a question of Nefashis. Chol Savi Nefashis Toch Shabbos Push of Shabbos. Mishnafel of Mapos of an avalanche fell on somebody, a house collapsed. Safik Hu Sham, Safik Enu Sham's question if he's there or not. Safik Chaysa makes the question if he's alive or not. Safik Nafri, Safik Yisrael, we don't know if it's a Jew or not. V'chpachilov, remove the avalanche. Motu Chaim, V'chpachilov, if when you remove the avalanche you find he's still alive, you continue to move the avalanche. Mace, if you find them dead, you leave him there till after Shabbos Yontif. Okay, Minayin Shemachino, so how do we know that we give to eat even on Yom Kippur to this woman or to a person who has bumbus, who has this hunger? Dveila of Tzimukim show Truma. You give him to eat Dveila and Tzimukim or the Yom Kippur or not. You give him to eat sweet stuff. Dveila is figs or dates. Tzimukim show Truma and raisins of Truma. Now this is true even if he's strong. Generally, he's not allowed to eat Truma. How do we know this is true? Minadov in this pasuk it says, they found somebody who was more dead than alive, and in order to get some sugar in his bloodstream, they gave him Tvela, they gave him these dates, and Tzimukim, and these raisins, Vainulo, Tvela, Tzimukim. So from here we see that these are things, I guess the sugar very quickly gets the
diabetic insulin coma or something.
Something like that. So that's what gets the person going. Rabbi Chuna Amar, Esrim V'arba Esorno She'achal David. David ate 24 Yisoron. That was the lechem upon him he ate when he ran to Nov. And even though it wasn't a Kohen, he ate it because he had this debilitating hunger, and therefore he needed for Pikuach Nefesh. Rabbi Yochanan Matzei Kain. Rabbi Yochanan got this debilitating hunger, came to him, and he ate whatever he could find in front of him at the moment. The Kohen loving, they said concerning this, he said about himself, wisdom gives its owner's life, meaning he was very happy that he remembered this principle, that you chap and Ryan, you eat something quickly in order to get out of this illness. Tani, we learned machino, so as hakol bikal. You give him everything, the lighter thing. In other words, if you have a choice, for example, between the Vela and Truma, Malchinos will be Truma. We give him Truma to eat, which is a lighter prohibition. What I was going to say, because Truma is one as there's the Rabbanan, and the Vela is still Doraisa. Okay? Tevel Shviz, if you have a choice to give Tevel or Shviz, Malchinos or Shviz, give him Shviz because it's not a Chiyuv Misa. Chalav or Orla, if you have Chalav and Orla to give, and he's Yisrael, who's Chiv Misa on both of those things, Tricha, it's actually, there's a difference. That Chala is, Orla is Aser Banoah, and Chala is not Aser Banoah, but it's an Isser Misa. So we don't know which is considered to be more severe, that which is Aser Banoah, that which is an Isser Misa. Rabbi Yisrael said, Kashise Kume, I asked the Kasha Kume Rabbi Ba. Truma, how can you say that Truma is lighter than the Vela? Truma ma'avon misa. For Truma you get death. And the Vela will also say only transgress is alive. So, that you said you give him Truma over the Vela, how come? So he says, Kamadomer Shemei Lenki Blusa Maisa, going to the opinion that told the Maisus Bismanaseh, is because we accepted that upon ourselves. Okay? Says more further. Simone Kelev Shoite. The sign of a rabid dog. Peep Sucha, his mouth is open. Real Yorate, he's salivating, he's foaming at the mouth. Oznav Sruchos, his ears are lying down. Znavo Nasan Ben Yarchosav, and his tail is between his two thighs. Malchut Sanim, he walks on the side, he slinks along. Klovin Nochibon, and other dogs bark at him. Yeshrim, some say Afunavech, he also barks Vein Kol Nishman, you cannot hear him bark.
I think Malchut Sanim means he's like swaying back and forth.
Oh, he's swaying? That might be.
So.
Okay, you might be right about that. Maiske, dog named Caleb Shoite. What's the matter with this dog? How did he become what he is? Rabbi Shmuel Chanem Ruach Chazazi Solabo, he has some rabid spirit within him. The Choronim on the other said, Isha also kshafim bodekesbo. It's a woman who was making witchcraft and used him as a guinea pig, and that's why he got this rapidness. Germani Avdi Rabbi Yehuda Nesiah. Germani, who was the slave, that was his name. The slave Rabbi Yehuda Nesiah Nashchol.
That name came up somewhere. Bavli.
The Gillian Ephraim brings down where it is. I forget where it is. He brings down the other place. Nashchol Kav Shoite, he was bitten by a rabid dog. They gave him the diaphragm of the rabid dog. But no, he never got better. Now, in general, don't believe somebody who says that he was bitten by a rabid dog and he survived. That he was bitten by a certain type of serpent and he survived. Shabbat prayed that he was kicked by a mule and he survived. It's only a white mule which has this problem. How do we know the Saving Nefashos push up Shabbos? Yerushalmi Yuma said, because it says, however, my Shabbos is you should keep. The Ach is superfluous. A mute. So it means that you should keep Shabbos except on the Kedushin of Pikuach Nefesh. Is the boy Amar, that's learning from Xeris Akosu. The others is Svara. Those who want to say, Chalel of Shabbos, who Yoshev U'Mishaber Shabbos Asarbe. Be Mechal, this one Shabbos on him, so he can then keep many more Shabbos. In other words, the net result is positive, so therefore be Mechal the Shabbos. It's a Svara, not a Pasuk. Okay?
What about the general principle of Rechai
That might not apply to Shabbos. Doesn't apply to the big three. So it's not foolproof. Rabbi Yochanan said, if you have a alleyway, which is mostly goyim, and one Jew lives there, and an avalanche falls there. So then, and you don't know which one is under, the one Jew or one of the other goyim. So you remove the avalanche, which fill Yisrael Shosham for the Yisrael's there, even though he's a minority. Because in Bikoch Nevesh, we don't follow majority minority. And how much of it can you have to reveal in order to check whether he's alive or not? Train Amoraim, there are two Amoraim who argue about this. You have to reveal up to his nose to check his breathing. The Choron Amar Ad Tiburo, the other said until his navel. He who said you check his nose, Behuda a Kayim. It's somebody who's Kayim, and here the name Moshe means Kayim means sustain, and that means somebody who's lean. So you can check for heartbeat actually. You don't have to check for whether he's breathing. So you just go up to his navel and you can check to see if there's, heartbeat, if the systems are working, right? Madamar Atiburo. Yeah, I should change that.
Maybe the Gearses are.
No, I thought so, but I just misunderstood it. Madamar ad chotamo b'huda avakayim. He says to go to the nose is by somebody who's lean, because the nose is better. Now I see the talk of the Pnei Moshe is difficult. I didn't understand exactly what was difficult, but the Meicham mind complains about the Pnei Moshe. And what he says is, the way he explains the Gemara is, Madamar the Madamar ad chotamo b'huda avakayim is talking about somebody who's lying, who's in a straight, not necessarily prone, not prone, probably vertical. Standing up. So you check from the top, from the top down until you get to his nose, right? But he who says you check to the navel, that's talking about Manamar Chotama Buddha Hava Ravitz. Somebody who's crouching or lying down, so then it's you check. You check across till you get to his navel. In other words, if he's up and down, so all you have to do is dig down to his nose and see if he's still breathing. But if he goes across, so then you have to check much more of the body. Okay? So,
So it's not being lean?
No, you have to go to his navel. I'm sorry. Did I get that right? If he's standing up, you go to his nose. If he's sideways, then you go to his navel. What were you about to ask?
So what does that have to do with being lean?
Nothing, according to him. According to him, it has nothing to do with being lean or fat. It has to do with being standing straight up, right position.
Arguments can't be that they differ upon what method a person exists by. Breathing versus...
Well, that's what Carbon Ada says, kind of. But I don't like that. I don't think that fits into the Pashup Shah here.
Breathing versus heartbeat.
Yeah.
I tried to fit into the words. You're opening into the words. Driving into the words. That doesn't work. It won't. Because it says, what do you do with the words rock, kaim, and rocking, or ravut, or whatever it is. I have to come up with an explanation for that. You know some of my problem?
Yeah.
It was just a question of what's the easiest position to check them, so enunciate the machlokas that way.
But you hear it, so you won't change the gears to robots, you just say it's about who to have a...
Raccoon. Ravun, raccoon, I'm not sure exactly what it says.
Ra, which means the greater by, which is the greater system that you it goes back to the age-old halachic dispute as to what determines death.
That's the sugya.
Right. So this is it.
But it's hard to say tibur means the heart because it is the navel.
I understand. It is the navel. There's the original specifically says the navel. These sadeh or something.
Yeah.
The only thing would be for the navel is to see if it's going up and down. If the person's breathing, so then the stomach will go up and down. Especially if
That's
it's
true.
lying flat.
Anyway, that's what I think it is. They're both going on breathing. Maybe that explains a little bit more why you're checking down there. Because the diaphragm is around there, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. In any event, it says more for the Tani Azoris, somebody who's quick to Mazur Koch Nefesh Meshubach, he's praiseworthy. But Nishal, it's interesting what that means. The Korban says Nishal means a Rav who never taught his Baal Batim the halachos of Pikuach Nefesh. So they have to come back to ask him. You see that? In other words, if you have to ask, so you lose precious time asking what to do. So a person who's nishal, because he never taught his congregation Hilchos Pikuach Nefesh, that's meguna. That's bad. The shoyl, somebody who actually goes to the rabbi to ask the question, he's a murderer because he should have saved the guy in the meantime. Ask questions, save first, ask questions later. Right? Time we learn kol davar shu sakana. And what's the role you
Never ask, just do. Because if you ask, it's always us. That's what the rule tells. Never ask.
Okay. But, so why by Chazal do you ask? Okay. Says more further. Tani, Kol Davar Shu Sakana, it's anything which Sakana, it's a famous Maisa, as you know, I'm sure, about Rabbi Yisrael Salanter and the outbreak of cholera in Vilna. No? 1840s was an outbreak of cholera in Vilna. And it was over Yom Kippur. And Rabbi Yisrael went up on the bima, chakras, and didn't just say he had to eat. Took wine and cake and made kiddush and mazonos. And the other rabbanim in Vilna were upset at him because they held it wasn't such a big pikuach nefesh. Because the doctor said it wasn't big pikuach nefesh. Rabbi Yisrael made him famous. The first before the Busser movement was founded, he hadn't yet founded it. Got up and he made kiddush and mazonos in front of everybody and had everybody eat. And this was Rabbi Yisrael, so people actually listened. So that's what it says here. Tani kol davar shu sakana. Rabbi Yisrael definitely is Rachash. The Chassidim say that the Lubavitchers say Not now, not anymore. Now they don't have any, they don't have sensitivity anymore. But they said the Lubavitcher at the time said Hashem's about Rebbe Yisrael. Hashem sent the Misnagdim one Rebbe Sheneshama, and they muffed it. Okay, trust those Misnagdim to ruin everything. All right. So in any event, Tani called over Shusar, anything with Sakon, Aino Mariasu, Ba'ak, you don't say let a goy handle it, Tani were minors handed, Afilu B'Gdolim B'Yisrael. The Gdolim B'Yisrael. Now that's only Sakona. What about the following case? Ma'aser Shnafel Dleika B'Chater Shor Yossi Ben Simoy B'Sichen. Ma'aser, there's a fire in the courtyard of Yossi Ben Simoy, who was some Amoyer, I guess, in Sichen, V'Yorah B'nei Kater Shel Tipor, in the fire extinguishers. Cats are like launderers, but here I assume it means, the fire brigade. Of Tzipori came l'chaboso on Shabbos. Lo ynichem, he didn't allow them. Omri said, "Anichu legabai, let the collector come. Shikav etzchov, in other words, it's a makkah from Hashem." Miyad kosher lavahanan. Immediately the clouds gathered, v'chibo, and Hashem extinguished the fire. Motzei Shabbos nevertheless, Motzei Shabbos shoch l'chol echom ve'echom me'em Sela. He sent every member of the fire brigade of Sela, and leader Chamishim Dinar, in order to make sure that they continue to come and they shouldn't feel that they came for naught. Amr Chacham said, "Lo yatzarich la'asos kain." He didn't have to pay for it actually, because if Goyim, even if the Goyim had put out his fire, because halachas, if Goyim can put out your fire on Shabbos, you don't have to tell them no. You can allow them to do so. So that's what he should have done, or rather, that's what he could have done. Right? Chad Naftoi, there was a certain guy from Nofes, his town. Megir Rabbi Yonah was the landlord of Rabbi Yonah. Nofel is the lake Megurte Rabbi Yonah, so the fire came there. Also in Niftaya, that guy came, boy Metafta, he wanted to put it out. Lo Shavka Rabbi Yonah would not allow him. So he said, I would kind of transpose the last letter of each of the next words in order to make it more palatable. Amalei Bigdim Medalach. He says, so the guy said to Rabbi Yonah, in Mazel do we go, it would be like from you, meaning Gdi in Aramaic is Mazel, and Medalach means yours. So I think what he said to him was, again, I transpose letters here. And what he said to him is, oh, you don't want me to put out the fire, even though I'm the landlord, will you take upon yourself my loss as a result of this? And he said yes, Amrle in. And as a result of his saying yes, Vishtaziv Kula, all the property of this guy was saved because he obviously was a very holy man, and therefore the moment he accepted Achrayas, the Hashem made sure that he wouldn't have to pay anything. Rabbi Yehuda Kfar Ami Pires Gute Agdisha, Rabbi Yehuda Kfar Ami Sama Moira, just not Moira, one of those. First, the Gevilte arbitrarily decides halacha and has no ruach hakodesh, of course. First, Gevilte Agdisha, he put his Gute Agdisha. There was a danger of fire attacking his friend's cut grain, and so he put his garment in it. V'nura arkamine, the fire fled from in front of Rabbi whoever this was, Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, halacha above. Chatas v'asham vaday mechaprim. The chatas in a definite asham mechaper. B'savir mekipurim mechaper im hatshuva. Together with tshuva. Hatshuva chaperes averes kalos tshuva atones for lighter averes al aseva losa say pasgaments zegaments. V'chamuru sutoan on the more severe averes it dangles the kapara. Achi avayom kippur yom mechaper until Yom Kippur comes completes the kapara. Tamati you learned over there. Unintentional defiling of the Beis HaMikdash and its kochim. Sorry, Nasa Bifnim, the goat which is done inside the Kodesh. V'Yom Kippur Mechaper, Yom Kippur is Mechaper. Shal Aver Shabbatar, other Aver Shabbatar, Kalos, the lighter ones, Chamuros, more stringent ones, donuts, intentional ones, Shkokos, unintentional ones, Hodah, where a person became aware of it, V'Loda, and didn't become aware of it till later. I say also say a positive command, negative command. Karisus, umisos based in the idea of karsin, the idea of being killed in court. Sorry mishtalech and the sorry Actually, it was supposed to be sorry Mishlech Chaper, all these things sorry Mishlech is Mechaper for all of them, right? Says the Gemara, what is this, low?
Lohi kalos asay.
Oh, it's a question, right, I forgot. Lohi kalos asay, velos asay. It says in this price we just quoted kalos, chamuros asay, and los asay. Isn't that redundant? And it says chamuros and misa crease and misa spacing. Aren't those redundant? Lohi kalos asay, velos asay is not kalos. The same thing as asay and los asay. Lohi chamuros creases and misa spacing is not chamuros. The things that you get put to death to. So the price seems to be repetitive. So Rabbi Omer Kinemas is what the Mishnah means to say. Hakalos v'chamuros. If you have lighter ones and more stringent ones, also hakalos and shebnei Moshe Tosin ve'chamuros. Bein shalasam bezodon, bein shalasam bezodon. Whether you did them intentionally or unintentionally, or didn't do intentionally, oson that you're atoned for, and oson, and the next word is also type instead of a chamur should be ashkagos. The unintentional ones, ben shnis v'adei lo ben, whether you're aware of them, ben shlonis v'adei ben, you're not aware of them. Eloin kalos, what are the lighter ones? Asay v'los asay. Eloin chamuros, what are the more stringent ones? Krisos u'misos based. And concerning them, kshem shasor and tanasi b'fnim, just like the sorah made on the inside, mechaper als donos atones for intentional sins, the tosh kogos, and leaves these unintentional ones not necessarily atoned for? Oh, I got it. Okay, because it's talking about Tumas Mikdash for Kadashim. Tumas Mikdash Kadashim, in order to be in Korban, you have to be aware that you're Matami the Mikdash, right? You have to be aware and then forgotten and done it. Does anybody remember that vague memory? In order to be Chayv Tumas Mikdash Kadashim, you have to have Yediyah B'Tchila and perhaps Yediyah B'Sof. You have to be aware that you were Tomei at one point, and perhaps become aware after you were entered base and Mikdash you were Tomei at the time. Okay? So in any event, the sorry now which is done in the inside of the base of Mikdash atones for intentionally being Matame Mikdash, and it prevents punishment until you find out for shogeg and can bring the proper korban. Now the korban and Gilifrine both take out the next 5 words. Ab sorry mishlech, so to the sorry mishlech would send down the cliff mechaper. It atones for all these things. So it says manicha lohoda. I understand that the sorry mishlech atones for It says here sorry mishlech is mechaper for all these things, right? For all the averos which you did until Yom Kippur. So nicha lohoda, that makes sense if he does not aware of the averos. So Yom Kippur will be mechaper for unintentional averos. But what if he knew about the Avera? If Yom Kippur passes, does it absolve him of responsibility? How could this be? And didn't we learn? Certainly is chayt to be definite chatos for definitely having sin, or it's asham, which is for another type of sin, a definite korban. Shar aleim Yom Kippur, even though Yom Kippur passed over and they didn't yet bring the korbanos, chayavin. You're chayav still to bring the korban. So we see Yom Kippur doesn't obliterate your record. So I could say v'chayovas hashomos tluim peturim. So I could say some is chayav nashim toli is potter, right? It shouldn't be potter. It should be chayav. Just like chayav v'chatas after Yom Kippur passes, so to say with nashim toli. So Amar Rabbi Merchia said, "Bein shis valdei lo bohen, bein shalonis valdei lo bohen." It means the Asham Toli, how should I put it? The Asham Toli, whether you knew that you committed a Kosafik Aver or not, you have to bring an Asham Toli. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but it means like this. When you knew before Yom Kippur, whether you knew before Yom Kippur or not, that you had to bring an Asham Toli, Yom Kippur's Mechaper. Yeah, I think that's it. Again, Ara Bum Barchia benches Vadea Lo Bohen, bench Lolis Vadea Lo Bohen. And Osham Toli, you're Chayev. Well, it's the opposite of what I thought. Korban says, Ara Bum Barchia benches Vadea Bohen, bench Lolis Vadea Lo Bohen. Whether you needed to bring Osham Toli or not, Yom Kippur erases the necessity of bringing Osham Toli. You don't bring Osham Toli after Yom Kippur. Because even if you weren't aware whether you were chayiv to bring Osham Toli for Yom Kippur or not, since you sinned before Yom Kippur acts in lieu of an Osham Toli. An Osham Toli, because basically an Osham Toli is a korban which is brought in order to protect you from potential liabilities and punishment, right? Yom Kippur can do that. As opposed to a Chatos and Osham. Chatos and Osham is not just to protect you. You're required to bring it. It's mandatory at that point after you sin. So that Yom Kippur can't serve in lieu of. Okay? So that's what he says, whether you knew before Yom Kippur or not about your Osham Toli, after Yom Kippur you don't have to bring Osham Toli. Okay? Now the all the Mepharshim take the next three lines out and put them back later on. So we start now from Talmud Tninon, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line down.
So then no one will bring in Osham Toli. They'll always wait till Yom Kippur.
Yeah, but they'll be afraid in the meantime that they'll have bad luck. That's the problem. Talmud here, we learned over there, Elu Chayavin al Zdona Koris Vashir Gosan Chat, to Chait. There's certain averes which you do, if you do intentionally, you're Chayav Koris. If you do them unintentionally, you get a Chait. But lo other stuff, if you don't know if you try, that's not Osham Toli. So you bring Osham Toli in the meantime. Ask the Gemara, why is that? Lo Kfar Kippur, Yom Kippur, didn't you just say Yom Kippur works instead? So B'Shem B'Shem Rav Levi Sukkaya said, fascinating answer. The Morav Yom Kippurim Umasisi. You know where you have to bring Osham Toli? Where you rebelled against God on Yom Kippur. So is Yom Kippur mechaper for you when you rebel on Yom Kippur?
If you don't accept Yom Kippur as being mechaper, as you rebelling, then you shouldn't.
That's going to be a machlokas actually. But our Mishnah will say you don't get Yom Kippur.
He doesn't recognize it, so it doesn't exist for him. He's morid.
Well, it's not just that. It means that what I mean to say is that he holds Yom Kippur's mechaper at a certain point of time of Yom Kippur, which is. Does he actually hold it? No, you're right. I'm throwing in too much. This is about a case where a guy was married on Yom Kippur, so Yom Kippur won't work for him. So that's it's being Osham Toli. That's all there is to it. You're right. Yom Kippur Masis. Now the Gemara throws. Now the Mepharshim throwing that line from the fourth line of the Gemara. Why didn't they say it's only about a case where he didn't become aware of it? In other words, instead of saying it's only about a Yom Kippur, say it's only about a guy who wasn't aware that he's Chayav and Osham Toli. So Yom Kippur's not mechaper for him. So it tells us must be that even if he didn't know whether you're going to be Chayav and Osham Toli or not, Yom Kippur atones for it. It doesn't matter. Okay, by definition, it takes the Chayav Osham Toli. Say a mitzvah say Afa pi shelo asa tshuva, even though you didn't do tshuva, Yom Kippur is mechaper. Lo say Rabbi Shmuel B'Shem Rabbi Zir said Vusha also tshuva only is mechaper if you also did tshuva as well. Okay.
That's interesting. So they're saying that Yom Kippur is mechaper on an say even without tshuva.
Yeah. The Gemara is going to get into that in greater detail next Gemara.
Well, it's assuming that he does the mitzvah to say afterwards.
No. That's a new cheshbon. The old cheshbon is erased. Right? Oh, man.
So not putting on tefillin, Yom Kippur's mechaper for...
Yeah, but he won't get all the miles of it as if he had put on tefillin. Okay. He doesn't get. Okay? Somebody says, I will sin, I will do tshuva. I will sin, and I do tshuva. We don't in heaven give him enough time to do tshuva. Yom Kippur Mechaper, a person says, I'll sin, Yom Kippur will atone. Yom Kippur Mechaper, Yom Kippur doesn't atone. Aver sheben odom lamokom aver between man and God. Yom Kippur mechaper. The sheben ben chaver, those between man and man. Aim Yom Kippur mechaper. The Kippur is not atone. Achirat zu chaver until he appeases his friend. Zudorai should be losing Azariah to Joshua, losing Azariah. Mikol chatay seichem for lawyer percent leaf ne'ashem titor before God should become tor. Aver sheben lamokom, which are leaf ne'ashem Yom Kippur mechaper. Sheben chaver, those between you and your friend. Ain Yom Kippur mechaper. Yom Kippur is not mechaper. Achirat zu chaver until you appease your friend. Praiseworthy are you, O Jews. Before whom are you matar yourselves? And who does purify you? Father in heaven. Shneimar, as it says, I myself will sprinkle pure water on you. It says, Mikveh Yisrael Hashem. God is Am Yisrael's mikveh. My mikveh Taras Etzmeim, Avakosh Baruch Matam Taras Yisrael. Okay, now I have a bunch of interesting cases. Homer Ein Oila Mechaperes. I say this oila is not mechaper. Or Ein Oila Mechaperes Olai. This oila I'm bringing is not mechaper on me. Nonetheless, mechaperes he works for you anyway. Tough. You don't need emunah in the ola. You brought the ola, it works. It's mechaper. Okay. If she should mechaper li, that's if you said I know it's mechaper, I admit that, but I don't. It can't be mechaper for me. Then ain't a mechaper slow. Al korcho. It doesn't. It's not mechaper on him. Once he rejected, in other words, he rejects the concept of ola. It's ironic. He rejects the concept of ola, right? Ain't ola mechaperes. So then he achieves the kapar of the ola. He says it's not mechaper for me. It's not mechaper for him against as well. You see the difference?
Yeah, one is a general statement, the other is more specific.
So the Gulin Ephraim gives a tremendous chap. He says it's like this Masna Mashkosa B'Torah. If you want to make a transaction, you want there to be, and you wanted to cheat somebody in the transaction. So you can come to him in one of two ways. You can say, I'm doing a transaction, I'm going to say I can cheat you. Right? That's one way of looking at it, right? Or I'm making a transaction, I'm going to say there's no such thing as cheating in the Torah. No prohibition on cheating in the Torah. So there we say that if he makes the condition, that I can cheat you, so it can be moichel, right? Says that there's no cheating in the Torah. That's mashkos b'Torah. It says there's cheating in the Torah, right? So there's a very basic difference. So here it's kind of the opposite, right? You say if he says Eino mechaper, right? There's no such thing in the Torah. Of course it's there in the Torah, right?
This is actually a hefzer gavra issue, isn't it?
What?
This is like hefzer gavra.
Kind of like hefzer gavra, right? So if you say it's about you, so then we listen to you. But if you say it's about the chefta, that you can't deny that it exists in the Torah. Just like you can't be master mashkos b'Torah. It says no in the Torah. It is case of no before. Why? Yeah, cheating you. So if I say there's no cheating, no prohibition on cheating, we don't listen to you, right? If you cheat, and you have to pay back. So to here, if you say there's no kapar in an ola. There is kapar in ola. You can't deny it. It's not bekoach. But you want to sever yourself from an ola and say there is an ola, but I want to be able to treat you. That's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it works. So too, if I say there is ola, but I want to work for me, that works too. Meaning that the ola in that case doesn't work. I cannot uproot the concept of ola from the Torah, but I can sever my relationship to the ola. Okay. Now, if a person said Ein Yom Kippur mechaper. Mechaper, see the tones anyway. If she mechaper li, here we have two girsos. The Gemara says mechaper l'bal korcho. Gemara says Yom Kippur works anyway. Tough. You can't sever your connection with Yom Kippur. Why? Because the Jewish soul is bound up in Yom Kippur inherently.
How is this different from what we had the Mored Yom Kippur before?
We're going to get there. So the other version here, in fact, is Gillian Ephraim's girsa is that in fact Yom Kippur and Ola are exactly the same. Rav Hillel said, there's something missing here. He argued anyway. If you take a look at Pnei Moshe, in the medium lines are almost at the bottom. Anyway, in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line, So you see it says v'chaser kan? See that? V'yasim sech shvua. V'yasim b'shvua sham. Arachin abrei avil lo mistabra do el chilufin. Makes the opposite, exact opposite case. That a korban, even though he says lo chilom lo ivcham mistabri, sheb korban af al pi shuoy merkein akaponim maybe the korban. Even he says I don't want the korban to work for me. He brought it. Of course it's going to work for you. So you already have a shaykhus by dint of the fact that you brought it. Aviyom kippurim merkein. Lo kula mean barnash me'emel malka lo yitzaz molech. Amazing statement. You Kippur, you can't do that. You can't say to a king, "You're not a king." By an oil, he says that no, it's the exact opposite. 1 second. Ola, he can't say he brought an ola. Of course, it's his. Even if he says, "I don't want the ola to be mechaper for me." By definition, it's his. But by Yom Kippur, if you say you don't want Yom Kippur to be mechaper, you're saying is I don't want the king to be my king. And in that case, that act of treason is enough that Yom Kippur is not going to work for him. So that's how he's saying.
That's the Morib Yom?
That's Morib Yom Kippur, right. Right, that's his saying. Again, I've seen inside here now. Amar Chida Breda, I feel local amin adain barnash is not proper for a person. If he says that, he doesn't achieve the kapar of Yom Kippur. Now, ha'olam mechaper sira alev. Ola is mechaper for thoughts in the hearts. My time it was, it say va'ol ruchachem hayo lo siyeh. That which is in your hearts goes in your spirits, in your hearts will not come to pass. And the drush is there. It says va'ola aruchachem. You see that the ola comes on your spirits. In other words, on things that you think. That's how we learn it out. Yeah. So this says by Eov, V'ishki Baboki got up early. V'hela olos misbrokuli gave olos corresponding to the amount of kids that she has, and it says there in Eov because lest they had a bad thought. Hada Omer. Shalom Mechaber Sira Lev teaches ola tones for thoughts in the heart. Period. Rabbi Omer, very famous drasha. Hakol Versha B'Torah on all Versha Torah Yom Kippurim is mechaper. Automatically, even without tshuva, chutz me, except for haporiko, somebody who shakes off the yoke of Torah. V'amei bris, somebody who doesn't properly keep bris milah. V'magapay in Torah, and somebody who brazenly denies the validity of psukim in the Torah. V'yimasa tshuva miskaperlo. On those, Yom Kippur itself is not mechaper, he must do tshuva. If he did tshuva, it atones for him. V'yimlav, if not, a miskaperlo, it doesn't atone. Rabbi Zvida Amar, Rabbi Yossi Maksha. Rabbi Zvida said, Rabbi Yossi asked, Mizbar Sava Rabbi Shem Kippurim Mechaper below Tshuva? Because Rabbi Yossi that normally Yom Kippur works without Tshuva? Rabbi Yash, Rabbi Yen, Rabbi Bon, Rabbi Chib, Rabbi Yochanan said, Moda Rabbi She'en Tshuva Mechaper, Moda Rabbi She'en Yom Kippurim Mechaper Ela B'Tshuva. Now here actually the Pnei Moshe changes the girsa. He says actually that it says that Rebbe holds a Yom Kippur as mechaper without tshuva. Where is it? Somehow he changes the girsa. He makes major girsa changes. So Rabbi Yashin said, in the name of Rabbi Chia that Yom Kippur is mechaper even without tshuva. But regardless, Misa mechaperes below tshuva. Misa atones without tshuva. Interesting thing. Death has atonement on its own, even without tshuva. We learn Tadi Yom Misa ki Yom Tshuva. The day of death is like a day of tshuva. Mati Sua Rebbe. Who holds that? Rebbe. Just like Rebbe holds Yom Kippur is mechaper without tshuva because it's a cleansing process. So too the day of death is mechaper without tshuva because it's a cleansing process. Havoy heve hadol dekninan. So that which you learned, the Misa Yom Kippur Mechaper Im Tshuva, the local Rebbe, because Rebbe holds they work without Tshuva. Shara Masib Ben Chors, it's a Gavaldi, it's a tremendous Chiddush Rebbe. It's really tremendous, because he holds, you don't need Tshuva to be Mechaper. Yom Kippur is such a holy day, poof, all that Kedusha spills out on you and cleanses you, even without Tshuva. It's an amazing concept.
So it's only been on your marker.
Oh, only been on the Mokum, right. The Gemara is going to say explicitly on the base. Shara Masi B'Chosh Reb Elazar ben Azariah b'Yeshiva. He asked him in the Yeshiva. Omar Lo, he said to him, Shamata Arba Chiluchi Kapar, did you hear the 4 gradations of Kapar Rabbi Yishmael Darsh, Rabbi Yishmael Darshan? Omar Lo, so he said there weren't really 4. They really responded. There's Shalosh Shem Chutz Min HaTshuva. There are 3 levels besides Tshuva, and Tshuva is necessary for each of the 3 levels. What are the 3 levels? Because of Echor Omer says Shuvu Barim Shovim, come back, wayward children. Because of Echor Omer, on this day he will achieve kapor. Because of Echor Omer Pasuk says, Upakati b'shevet pishom. I'm going to hit them with the staff because of Averis. Because your sin will be atoned until you die. Okay, said how so? Avraham Mitzvah say Vishov, right? This argues on Rebbe. Rebbe holds you don't need tshuva, right? This holds you need tshuva. If you transgress it, it's saying do tshuva miyad immediately. Ain't does you come, you don't move from that spot achim cholo until the Torah Shem forgives you. Allah v'kosav concerning this, the Torah says shuvu b'anim shovim, just do tshuva. However, Mitzvah Losa says somebody transgress a negative command, Vishov miyad does tshuva. Tshuva begins the process, but Yom Kippurim Mechaper, he still needs Yom Kippur as a cleansing, right? Because he transgressed something. Well, because of Omer, and that's what it says, Ki ba'yom ezeh yechaper aleichem, today he'll atone for you. However, Kisus and Mitzvahs based, if somebody transgressed something which you call Chayiv Koretz or Mitzvahs based in, the Mezid, if he transgresses Mezid, HaTshuva Yom Kippurim Mechaper Mechza, Tshuva Yom Kippur Duvav. And afflictions. The rest of the year, they do another half. Concerning the post says, I'll visit with the staff their iniquities, and with afflictions upon their averos. He has no power, neither with tshuva. For Yom Kippur litlos, to dangle him. V'lo b'yom kippurim l'chaper. V'lo b'yisurin l'mar. He's not b'yisurin to complete the process. Elo tshuva v'yom kippurim l'chaperim shlish. They're only a third. V'yisurin l'chaperim shlish, and afflictions get another third. V'amisa mimarekes, and the death completes his kapor. B'yisurin mimarekes b'yisurin. Actually, it says here he has to die torturous death. V'amisa mimarekes b'yisurin. It's not just enough that he lives yisurin. It's got to die yisurin. So here's the bad news. All of our customers concerning this cry, it says, will the Aveir be atoned for until you die. All the man who shall be some records, we see that death completes the process. You know Rabbi Akiva. You know what Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Akiva, they hold like that. There's the 3 gradations of kapara. So if I had Rebbe who says Yom Kippur works by itself, these Tanoim will hold that sometimes Yom Kippur works and sometimes not, depending on the severity of the sin. But then we have a third opinion. The soil laws also is mechaper for all these things, even without Yisurim and Misa, even for Chil Hashem. Even ain't soil, if there's no goat, like Bisman Hazeh, Hayoy mechaper. The day is mechaper. Now, of course, with Tshuva, it's not Rebbe. Needs Tshuva, but with Tshuva, the day is mechaper. Ketzah mechaper, when's mechaper? Zero Mer kosher when it comes in. As long as some part of Yom Kippur is passed. Rabbi Chanani Amar B'soif, only at the end of the day. It's a story in Isha Lacha that Rabbi Yoshe went out with his father for Yom Kippur afternoon. I know exactly what doing outside afternoon, but Rabbi Yoshe said to his father, "Wow, what a beautiful sunset!" And his father said, "The amazing thing about the sunset is that this sunset has a unique quality, and that it's mechaper that atones for that virus that as it goes down," which is what we're saying here. So Rabbi Yoshe brings it down as an example of how the Brisker sees the world. There is no poetry in the Brisker view of the world. There's only halacha. Okay? Precedent, things like that. So, says more further, Rabbi Zira Mer Koshu, Zira says Koshu, immediately when it comes Zira Chaner Mer Basoif. Ma'amav Kabineh, what's the difference between the two? Mace, and it's a typo, it should be Mace Miyad. He dies immediately after Yom Kippur comes in. So according to the opinion which holds the beginning of Yom Kippur is Mechaper, achieve Kapara. According to the opinion which holds the end of Yom Kippur is Mechaper, he has not achieved Kapara. Al Daita Rabbi Zira, for Kippur, Rabbi Zira immediately ready to achieve Kapara. Al Daita Rechina, low keeper. Rabbi Zira said, Masisa Messiah Rabbi Chanina. It's a Rabbi Chanina that it's the end of the day. Why? What is that? It says Chomer B'Soyer Masha'em B'Yom Kippur. It says there's verity when there's a goat, which does not apply when there is no goat. The Yom Kippurim is verity Yom Kippur when there is no goat, over B'Soyer when there is a goat. How so? Yom Kippurim Mechaber Lo Soyer. Yom Kippur is Mechaber without a goat. B'Soyer Enu Mechaber Ela B'Yom Kippurim. And the Soyer is not only Mechaper if it's Yom Kippur. No, as you bring the Soyer any other day, it's not Mechaper. Chol Soyer, what's this ready by the goat itself? Shal Soyer Mechaper Yad, the Soyer is Mechaper when it's slaughtered. The Yom Kippurim Mechaper Mishatechshach. Yom Kippur is only Mechaper once night falls. So that's what he's saying when there's a Bizmanchi basically to show you Kaim, all the people were told for immediately when the soil also was done. They didn't have to wait till nightfall. Nowadays you have to wait till nightfall in order to achieve full kapara. Okay, the day has to be over. Now that's a right to Rabbi Chanina that the kapara is achieved at the end of the day. Rabbi Chanina said, no, not necessarily. He tops this, I asked this question, Rabbi Yirmiyah. But he said maybe the kapara really occurs in the middle of the day. But this is a case that we go by the end of the day when he had in mind to bring another goat because the first goat became puzzle, right? For low AV and he never ended up bringing it. So the whole day it ain't over till it's over, and therefore you don't get kapara until nightfall, right? Because where there's a soyer and the soyer is kosher, so that does the kapara. But where the soyer turned out to be puzzle, you wait to another one. So whatever comes first is mechaper, the second soyer, or nightfall, because the original one is water on the bridge. But
how could you have a mandon when it says that the beginning of Yom Kippur achieves kapara if you have to have the soyer lazozel?
That's icing on the cake, according to him.
Only icing?
Yeah.
You make such a big thing out of it.
It's not necessary though. As long as you did tshuva, and it's a little bit hard of Yom Kippur, that's the quality of Yom Kippur. So that maybe arouses the people to do tshuva who otherwise wouldn't have done tshuva. But you yourself, as long as you do tshuva, Yom Kippur works, right? Let's say even the soil also is not necessary, right? It says the Gemara, amazing question. I have never seen it. It's amazing. I'm going to speak with hyperbole, but it's true. I have never seen such a question the Gemara is about to ask. What the Gemara asks? Rabbi Yitzer Rebun boy, Ve'ena Kodesh Baruch Hu Roes Hanola V'Yichaper Miyad. Isn't that an amazing question? He's asking the question. We just got through with a case where it's not mechaper till the end of the day, where you intend to bring another goat, and you ended up not bringing it. So what's mechaper, either the second goat or the end of the day. But he says, it's amazing, astounding theological question. He says, but Hashem knows where you're going to bring another goat or not. So if he knows you're not going to bring another goat, so let him be mechaper from earlier in the day, as opposed to waiting for the end of Yom Kippur for you.
Yeah, but there's bechira chashish, so the person may always...
Of course, that's why it's amazing Gemara. The Gemara is actually bringing God's foreknowledge into the play in trying to determine what goes on, and we never, ever, ever do that. It's axiomatic that we don't understand how God's foreknowledge interacts with, patterns of, this world. But we're asked, and of course, it's the type of question which you don't answer. Okay? Shmuel Amar. Shmuel said, "Ayin dechata chavrei somebody you sin against his friend. Sarch meimar le." He has to say to the friend, "Sarch is alach. I did bad to you." V'in kavle. If his friend accepts his request for mechila, hatavus, it's good. V'in lo, if not, Ma'aser B'nai Nash has got to bring other people and fights to come on and appease this guy in front of these other people. Although Stephen Savage says, I'm sorry, being low, that doesn't work. Ma'aser, oh no, I was right the first time. Although Stephen Savage says, Yishar Anashim. What is Yishar Anashim? Yaseh Shurasha, she should make a row of people. It says you should bring 10 people and say from those 10 people, V'yomer Chotasi, you should say sin. V'yoshar Avesi, destroy that which is right. V'lo it didn't do me any good. You must, okay, if he did that, even the other guy wasn't moichel him. Nevertheless, consider that he redeemed himself me'ever b'shachas from going through Gehenna, l'chayoso b'or tira, and you will see his life force in illumination. Mace, what if the guy who insulted died? Tzarech mefayste al kivrei. You have to go to his grave. Or maybe I'd say to him, Sarachis Allah, that I did bad to you, and that's Pradan actually halacha. Time limit, Avesh is violating Yom Kippur, Shav Avesh, which you confessed last Yom Kippur, ain't so violating Yom Kippur and about. Don't go confess for them next Yom Kippur. You must, if you did, all of Akoso Omer, the Pasuk looks at you as Kikelev Shav Kio, like a dog returning to his vomit. Ksil Shonavi Valto is a fool who repeats his error. Okay? Tanya Lezer argues, says Omer Reza, Lezer Omer Reza, Nizkar, repeat it again. Ankach, repeat it every Yom Kippur. My time, what's his logic? My time is Lezer. Chatasi Neditom, it's good for the humility to always have your sin in front of you. Okay? Now, Ma'amakai Rebbe time of Rabbanan. What does Rebbe do with that which Rabbanan said that to repeat your sins over and over again from years ago in Yom Kippur? It's like a dog going back to his vomit. So he holds.
What? You repeat the rest of the puzzle. Still shown by.
Yeah, I lost my place. Says Mar B'Shoinabos. It's not where you repeat the vidu, it's where you do the Avera over again. You're only going back on, it's only dog going back on his vomit if you repeat the Avera, not if you repeat the vidu.
I think that was understood.
No, it was a Rabbanan argument, but I don't say not even allowed to repeat the vidu. That's also Kelosha.
If you repeat the Yavera, then of course you have to.
Yeah, but not if you be misvad on last year's Averis. That's
no, I
Rabbanan.
assume all of them.
No, but Rabbanan is saying.
He sinned again, the same.
No. We're not talking about such a scenario. Then everybody will be doing again. So about can I still?
Last year's.
Yeah, I already confessed for 1997 sins. Can I do it again anyway, another year around? And now you say that's the machlokas. So if it says that's not kill, it's only if you commit Aver again, right? Mamakai Rabbanan who say you should not repeat it again, even if vidui. Tam Rabbi Lezer Chatosi Negdi Tomid was that Shlo Yeb Eno Kilu Son El Son Venimcho means when you're Baal Tshuva, don't regard it as if you never did Averis, but rather have the humility of assuming that you did that and you were atoned for. Mitzvah Savidah, Mitzvah Vidui is Ev Yom Kippur in Chashecha before dark. Ad Shlo Yishtakem Machal Milshta before you get involved in your Tzuna Mavsekas, in eating and drinking. Apple features even though you misvada in the evening afterwards. So it goes by Shabbos, you have to do misvada in the Shabbos again. Habish misvada Shabbos, even though you misvada in the morning. So it's Vadas Musaf, you got to do Musaf again. Habish misvada Musaf, so it's Vadas B'mincha. Habish misvada B'mincha, so it's Vadas B'neila. Shekol Hayom Koshel Vidui. It's a good thing to be misvada. Can't hurt, right? That day, not on last year's Averis, right? Ketzim Misvada, how do you Misvada? Bracha B'Shem Rebbe Barbino said, Riboini, my master, Chotasi, I did evil. I did sins. Umeras, he said, did evil. Uvedas Law, Isi Oimid, I had bad opinions. Uvedera Chochoik Ismach, I went in a wayward path. Kshem Shah, Sisi, Ein Yosef, but that which I did, I will not do anymore. Yotov V'necha Hashem Elokai, may be a will shet the chapperly abshoy, atone for my rebellions. Nimchli Yaakov, and also I forgive all my sin, my intentional sins, and forgive all my unintentional sins. Tani, we learned, Tzarchli Brothers Maisav, you have to say exactly what you did. We in fact do not specify, although you're allowed to, We just say Oshamnus and Al-Chetz, which are generic. Because you don't actually have to specify, you just have to say, I've been rotten, I want to be good. That's good enough. My time, Rabbi Yehuda, what's the logic? Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseru said, you actually have to specify, because Moshe Rabbeinu said, they sin, is off. Says, he mentioned the sin that they made the golden calf. Marvel Akiva, what's the prayer Akiva do with this pasuk? He says, no, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't mention in order to be misvad on the sin. It's just to say, that would have been enough. It's trying to say that to justify the sins. Migarim lohem who caused them to sin. I should basically have kesef v'zar because I allowed them to get a lot of gold and silver. So he's not actually specifying the sin, but specifying a limit chus of them. Lama, and what is this similar to? Shein chamor nohek, a donkey does not bray. I think it's bray, maybe it's kick. But in any event, the donkey does not get wild unless unless it has a basket full of carobs. So it's only if you have a lot that you become rebellious and rambunctious. If you have a little, you're not so rebellious. So Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, you gave them a lot of gold and silver. What do you expect them to have? Yishma, very good. See if it says Mikvah Yisrael Hashem. Ma Mikvah Tar Satmeim VaKosh Baruch Mutar Yisrael. V'cheinu Heimer, so it says, V'zarakti L'chem Ma'yitrim, Tarati Mikol Tumosechem, Mikol Glulechem Ater Aschem, Hajj L'Aper Yom Kippurim, V'kulam Esechta Yuma B'rachmei Dishmael.